I'm Ariana Grande.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Erivo.
And you're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Visit bpn.fm to discover more.
Hi, I'm Erika Henningsen. Welcome to the Theater Podcast with Alan Seals.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Theater Podcast. I am your host, Alan Seals, and we are almost at Tony Awards. I cannot wait. We're dropping this episode mid-May, and there's only a few weeks to go. Today's guest originated the role of Cady Heron in the Broadway musical Mean Girls, and voicing fan-favorite characters in animated series like Hazbin Hotel and Helluva Boss. So it's none other than Erika Henningsen, who has embraced every curveball the industry has thrown her way, including pandemic-era pivots and hard-hitting rejections she never saw coming, or maybe she did. We dig into her journey from Les Mis to her current role as Sandra D in Broadway's Just in Time, and explore how collaboration, more than applause, has become her artistic North Star. Plus, she shares what it's really like to act opposite Jonathan Groff every night, and how Sandra D isn't quite the ingenue that you might think she was. In her latest role on TV, Erika stars as Ginny in Netflix's The Four Seasons, alongside Steve Carell and Tina Fey. She talks about the difference in cast dynamics, and especially knowing and working with comedy geniuses like them. But The Four Seasons is a show I binged the moment I started watching it, so you got to check it out. This episode is powered by WelcomeToTimesSquare.com, the billboard that lets you be a star for a day, so you can see your picture on a bazillion-foot-high billboard in Times Square. Remember, you can watch the video of this interview on Patreon or Spotify. And please find me on social media. Rate the podcast, leave a review, keep tagging me in your comments and your stories. And now, everyone, please enjoy this episode with Erika Henningsen.
Here you go. 1, 2, 3.
Today's guest is an absolute powerhouse who first captured national attention as the youngest ever Fantine in Broadway's revival of Les Miserables. She went on to originate the role of Cady Heron in Mean Girls, earning her a Drama Desk nom, and starred in the world premiere of Joy the Musical, played Nellie in Little House on the Prairie at the Rev Theater Company, and performed in Diner at Signature Theater, directed by Kathleen Marshall. And on screen, you might have seen her in Apple TV's Girls 5 Eva,
Yes.
Peacock's Girls with Bright Future, and she currently voices Charlie Morningstar in Prime Video's Hazbin Hotel, as well as Bethany in Helluva Boss.
Yes.
And now she returns to Broadway in Just in Time. Just in Time. She's just in time. Erika Henningsen, welcome to the Theater Podcast.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here.
Oh my goodness, you've had quite a career jumping around.
Yeah, I feel like I've gotten to kind of stick my feet into a lot of pods. I don't know if that's a saying.
A lot of podcasts?
Yes.
Oh, podcasts?
Pot and pods. Podcasts. Yeah, I think something that was sort of a positive benefit of the pandemic when theater shut down was auditioning for a bunch of other things, and that's sort of how I got into the animation world and have gotten to do some TV. So it's been super, super exciting to get to do it all.
So the necessity of COVID sitting at home, was the animation, the voiceover world something you had thought about prior, or you were just like, I'm here doing nothing?
I auditioned for so much animation and didn't book anything. And I think the benefit of being at home was I really took time to create a cool voiceover closet, literally in my closet in my one-bedroom apartment. And I don't know, I think theater people are so well adapted for animation because our voices are already very expressive.
You said with one eye wink.
It's very expressive. My sister works in finance, and anytime I go and meet her coworkers, they're all so lovely, but their voice timbre is pretty monotone, and this is what they do and this is what they talk about.
I think that's most of the world.
I think that's true. I guess that is most of the world. But we are, I think if you are a theatrical person, your voice naturally just kind of was whoa, all over the place. So that was really helpful.
That was my thing at Google. I was an engineer for a bajillion years. And I was there for 11 years. I was at Thomson Reuters beforehand, and
oh my gosh, what a trajectory.
Right? And the people I talked to, no shade against any of them, but it's hey, Alan, how's it going? I had a really great weekend.
Yeah.
How was your weekend? I'm like, let's talk about it.
I bet you were like a total unicorn in that world because you have like a
weird.
great, like vibrant personality. And that's no shade to those people, but like that's not always the thing that is called upon in those type of environments.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't understand, as an extrovert, the getting nervous in front of groups of your peers unless it's an audition.
Unless it's at an audition. I get nervous. It's funny. I get nervous when I know there's one person in the audience, so I don't ever like to know.
Really?
Even if it's a person who I like don't even care about that much.
Like
it's
Oprah.
just like Oprah.
Yeah, you know.
Friggin' Oprah. Like if you come and see the show, I don't care. No, it's just like I get focused on their opinion of it. So it's more just sort of the elephant in the room if I know somebody is there. What do I get nervous? I do get nervous for auditions these days, because so many of them have gone virtual. So when you're in person, it's really weird.
So the virtual ones for me are I guess they're the easiest ones because I'm just like, I can take it over again. I don't feel like there's any time pressure.
Yeah,
there's nobody
exactly.
outside listening to me crack.
Exactly. They feel very safe. So when you go in person and you're in a waiting room again, it's the sense memory of being in a waiting room, taking the train down, all this anticipation. Whereas when you're auditioning from home, you kind of walk out of your bathroom after applying your makeup and just open the laptop and there you are. There's no time to get nervous.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you see, if I'm not live with anybody anyway, I don't get nervous because I know, like, if I mess up, I'll just stop and start
Are we live right
over.
now?
Well, we can be. Now we're live.
I just thought about that. I thought, oh God, if I say anything, is the world going to hear it?
No. We edit this out, edit out any farts and burps. And
Love
whatever,
it. I was
whatever.
planning on farting and burping the whole time.
Good. I am a grown man child, so it happens.
Me too.
Yeah, okay. Well, so talk to me then about how you got into theater and because I think you were performing, obviously you're performing before you ever got onto Broadway as the youngest ever fun teen.
I know. And we know that because my mom spent a day researching it. So like, I just want you to know that's not a tidbit that I found on my own, but my mother did find it. So I grew up in Northern California. So there was a lot of great theater there. There's the great touring houses, and then there's places like ACT and a bunch of great regional houses that are out in the East Bay. So I just did a bunch of that. And I had voice teachers, and I wasn't like a theater kid in the sense that I didn't do competitions. Like the Jimmy Awards of it all didn't really trickle over to California. That felt more of a East Coast thing for a while. And so the only exposure that I really had to theater were the community theaters and my high school shows. And it was when I was a junior in high school that a mentor, she was a couple years older than me, went to University of Michigan for musical theater and just sort of said, I feel like you would love this. I feel like you're somebody who is maybe not ready to move to New York. And she was absolutely right. I admire the teenagers who move here when they're 18 to like make it. I could never have done that. And that was sort of the stepping stone. I think that going to school was sort of the thing that massaged it being a hobby and a passion into a profession, because it gave me the tools in addition to sort of like the raw excitement and talent I had, which it sounds very full of it to be like the raw talent. But, you know, when you're a 16-year-old kid, you don't really know what you're doing. You're just really excited to be on stage.
I mean, Michelangelo started as a giant block of marble.
Exactly. So it was just sort of
David, that's what it is. The statue of David.
But I feel like
carved by Michelangelo.
The statue of David carved by Michelangelo. I'm sure there's a statue of Michelangelo somewhere that somebody carved.
Carved by somebody named David. Yeah.
Wow, the full circle kismet that would be. So yeah, that was sort of how I started. It was just local community stuff.
But then what was it about it that really drew you in, though? Because if you're like you said, you're 16. 16 is kind of late.
Yeah,
I would
start,
think to find out you're in love with theater.
To start, I think it was I did a ton of other things in addition to theater in high school and in middle school. There's a big emphasis on sports in California, especially Northern California. So I was doing a lot of that, but I wasn't really good at any of them. But I just kept thinking like, maybe something will hit one day. And the reason I was really drawn to theater and just kept, you know, a bunch of other hobbies started to fall away. And the reason was that my favorite thing about theater is the team element. Like I love being on a team where you have the same goal and where you're not really in competition with anybody else. Like it's it's all the interpersonal connection and trust and reliance on one another that you would have on like a basketball team, but it's a little more gray, and you're not trying to elbow out somebody else to get to the best result. So that was what I loved about it. And it's funny, I think over time, I've been in the business now for like 10 years. I feel like my reliance on the audience's affirmation has really gone down while my reliance on the team affirmation has gone up. Yeah, it's funny. And I don't mean this to say that I don't care about the audience and I don't care if they have a good time, but I really do find that what matters the most to me these days is walking away from an experience feeling like I respected the people, I learned from the people, I loved the people that I was working on stage or on screen with. And how the ticket buyers feel about it is kind of secondary to me, because that has started to feed me less than the actual collaboration of working with fellow artists.
Where did that shift come from? Was it getting married, having kids?
Maybe. It could have. I think I maybe got getting older. And also, for me, I think there's a diminished return when you rely on other people's opinion. And I think like I've been a part of things that I loved that people hated, and I've been a part of things that people loved that I kind of went, I could take or leave that experience. So I think it's just working over time and realizing that strangers' opinion of you or your work is something you can't control, but you can control your experience working on a project. And people ask me all the time, they're like, what made you want to do Just in Time? Because it's a bio musical. That wasn't really something on my checklist. Mm-hmm. And it was Alex and Jonathan Groff. Like I wanted to work with the two of them. I've always been a fan of Gracie Lawrence. And it was just sort of that thing of, I don't really know what this is going to turn into. I don't know if people are going to like it, but I know I like these people and I want to work with them. And so that perhaps is a little selfish, but it also feels to me like putting something first that I can control as opposed to audience response, which I can't.
I think that is a brilliant way of looking at it. And you're going to create, I think you're going to create a better end product with Alex Timbers, with Jonathan Groff. Yeah. When you're going in with a team, as you said.
Yes.
That you can rely on, you know, where you feel safe and you're not worried about whatever the things are, right? So if you, like, because the audience is always the last character.
Exactly, yes.
But you got to develop the whole thing first.
Correct. And then you have to, in the case of theater, maintain it together. And I think like that's where theater can really become, you don't know if you're cut out for it until you're 6 months into your 8 shows a week and you go, yeah, I'm still enjoying myself because I like the people. Because the audience is going to fluctuate night to night and you kind of get used to them. But what I can't get over is when I walk into a space where I like the people, my life is so much better. And that's kind of working with that as my goal as opposed to accolades has been a big shift in the past couple of years.
I think it was Caesar Samayoa just the other day told me in Just in Time with You, he told me that like showing up and doing the show is like summer camp.
Yes.
Because it's not like work.
It doesn't feel like work. I keep saying to my husband, I'm like, I feel like I need to be working harder. Like this should feel harder. And he just said, no, like I think you're understanding that you can work efficiently, but you are allowed to have joy. And that actually might make a piece even better than if you were like sweating and grinding and taking your art so seriously. I take my work seriously, but I appreciate working with people who don't take themselves seriously. And I think that's sort of what, I mean, I've been lucky to have that on Mean Girls and Just in Time. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I remember early in this podcast,
Mm-hmm.
Kate Rockwell was one of my very first.
The best.
One of my very, very first guests. And like, we got into the science of comedy.
Oh my God. She's I'm going to steal a Tina Fey phrase, an assassin with a joke.
Yeah.
Like she is so pinpoint, acute, and perfection with how she delivers a joke. Yeah.
And her and Alex Brightman, like the two of them.
Yes.
Because when all you know of somebody is them being funny on camera.
Yes.
And then they show up and they're a real person.
Yes.
I don't know why that still surprises me, but it does.
Oh, I don't think I'll ever get used to it. I'm doing a Netflix series with Steve Carell and Tina Fey. And Tina,
your feet hurt from the name drops? You
right
okay?
there. Let
You
me just grab them.
Yeah? Okay.
I'm trying to promote like a bunch of things right now,
Do it.
which is a true joy. But
Booked and blessed.
I'm like, you got to watch it. You got to buy a ticket. You got to re-up your Netflix subscription. But they're so funny, similar to Kate, similar to Alex, who is also in Hazbin Hotel. So funny when they are given a character and when they are given a joke. And then when you meet them in real life, they're still full of wit and humor, but they are just people. And it's a weird thing to, I think, when somebody's played a character like Liz Lemon or Beetlejuice, you ascribe those personality traits to them, but that's only like one tiny part of their personality that they're bringing forth.
Mm-hmm.
So it's such a delight. Like, I love getting to meet and work with people like that and just finding out the whole identity behind the character that we are familiar with.
What was that a different experience? Or I guess obviously it was, but like the cast of Les Mis, I suspect is a different sort of backstage experience than the cast of Mean Girls.
That's a really good point. Also, yesterday this is so funny you brought up Les Mis. I was at the gym yesterday and Valjean, Who Am I, came on, the Cole Wilkinson recording came on my shuffle. And I listened to the whole thing and I texted Ramin Karimloo, who was our Valjean. And I was like, do you remember how fucking good you sounded when you sang that? Like, I was so young. I don't think I processed that what he was doing was impossible. Like, really, what he was doing is an impossibly difficult performance. And he was so good at it. And sometimes I look at that 23-year-old person and I go like, you have no idea how lucky you were that I was on stage, because Fontaine comes back in Act 2 to peel potatoes on the barricade as like a townsperson. And so Ramin would sing Bring Him Home and we would all be on stage and like he never sounded bad. It was just absurd. But it was the first like leading man I'd worked with on Broadway. So I just assumed they were all like that. So he's amazing.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to the episode.
But the feeling of Backstage in Les Mis. So Les Mis, we had to have a lot of fun backstage because we couldn't really have it on stage. Mm-hmm. The show runs like a machine, literally and figuratively, because of a turntable. And so a lot of the antics were saved for backstage. Mean Girls, because we were playing high school students and because we were, allowed to have fun on stage, I mean, I'm sure there are bootlegs somewhere where you can just see. Gray Henson and I got notes all the time from our director, Casey Nicolai. He was like, I know you guys are best friends off stage, but when Katie meets Damien, she cannot give him a hug immediately. He just said, he was like, your friendship in real life is permeating too abruptly into the story on stage. Like, you got to warm up into the friendship as opposed to what Gray and I got to develop, which was... He's one of my best friends. And
right.
He married Kyle and I, so.
Are you still close with all of the cast and everybody from that? Because that seems like such a unicorn of a show.
It was a unicorn of a show, and I feel like it was of a time before, because it happened right before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that show, nothing will ever be as special as that show was. And I think I kind of knew that as I was doing it. So it's why I stayed for 2 years. I just didn't want to leave because I was having such a good time. And I just thought, I don't know if I'll ever get to be in a space where I walk into a theater and my best friends are here and I love the show and the audience loves the show. It was a unicorn. And we are all still very close and we keep coming across paths with one another. Like Christina Alabado, who replaces Gretchen, is in Hazbin Hotel, so we get to travel together.
Oh, fun.
Barrett Weed is in Helluva Boss, so she's there. Taylor remains like a good friend. She was at Just in Time auditions with me and she's got 2 kids now and it's so exciting to like see her life take off. And Ashley Park and I went to college together and she remains like a great friend and her star has ascended in such a beautiful way. I really go to her for advice sometimes just to be like, I don't know what this phase of my career is or how to navigate it. What did you do? And she remains somebody that I can really call kind of out of the blue with.
So that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I enjoy when the on stage relationships can, like they develop into something that's genuine.
Yeah, you notice.
You notice it as an audience member.
Yes.
And you may not realize what you're noticing, but it seems authentic.
Yes.
Because I've seen some really inauthentic things.
Yes. What's wild too is I feel like you can tell in theater, I feel like you really cannot fake it because we're seeing it all. Like, you can't edit it.
Yeah.
I think what was so weird to me was in like doing some television work, it's not as necessary to form that cast bond. And a lot of sets don't always place eminence on that because you're going to be wrapped in 3 months anyway. They're going to edit it together. So that was a really weird transition for me, was to realize when I show up to a set, oh, it's not my job to become best friends with everybody in 2 weeks. But that is what happens in theater. So it's kind of adjusting to that expectation and being like, I can have a great relationship with somebody on set, but I may not walk away with the friendship that I might develop in a theatrical space.
Okay, so Girls Five Eva, I feel like that was one where I could also feel the relationship.
Great people on that show.
Right?
Yes.
Because they're all theater people.
Correct. Yeah, theater people are great. But I will say, sometimes you get the alchemy of a great cast of people. Like this Netflix show is not theater people, but we had to do 2 weeks in Puerto Rico and we all lived together, not like in the same house, but in the same hotel space. And everybody really bonded. And it was really, like, for me as a theater kid, it was what I had been craving the whole shoot, was this moment of we all get to have dinner together and we're all together all day, every day. And that is rare. And I feel like Girls Five Eva definitely had that because of people like Renee and Sarah and Busy. I mean, Paula's such a team player too. So those 4 women really set the bar. And it was nice for it to trickle down when Ashley Park and I would show up on set and kind of be like invited into their coven.
the coven, yes.
The coven.
It is a coven.
It was a coven. It really was.
I like that. But yeah, you can feel it. You can see it in the way that everyone looks at each other. And I think that's something that will come from the lead, like a producer, someone like Alex Timbers.
Yes, totally.
And Alex is I think he's so good about immersing the cast in what you're doing and then immersing the audience in what he's presenting with the cast, because everything I've seen of Alex's in the last decade has all been like transformed the theater.
Yes. Yeah, you never doubt Alex's vision. And that's such a gift to have when you're in the room as an actor, which can be really vulnerable. To be like, I may not know what I'm doing yet, but I know he knows what he's doing, so I'm in good hands. Yeah, Alex is somebody I wanted to work with since I saw Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson when I was like a teenager. And so it was just waiting, hoping that he would eventually work on a project that had something that I was right for. And the addition of Groff is something that like I never could have anticipated. It's been so joyful.
Well, with the success that you've had leading up to this point, do you ever, and then COVID hit and Mean Girls closed and everything, is there a time when you've doubted continuing down this path?
Oh my God, yes. I mean, I think everybody doubted everything during COVID. But I had the time where I really thought, oh, I don't know if I'm cut out for this, is I got really lucky with Les Mis. I was like a college graduate. I got this incredible role in this incredible production, and I was so on top of the world, and I thought, oh, it only goes up from. And then Les Mis ended, and my contract ended, and I didn't really work for like a year and a half. I did some small regional gigs, but even that were things that I was getting, I think it was like they hired somebody and then somebody dropped out, and then it would come my way. And I auditioned there were like 4 shows. I think it was Anastasia, Frozen, Bandstand, and Mean Girls. And those first 3, so I hadn't worked in a long time. I thought the Broadway cachet of Les Mis was going to sort of elevate me in some way, but was totally back at square one. And I did really long audition processes with all 3 of those shows, and I loved all 3 of them. And I wanted to work with every director on them. Because what was Bandstand? Bandstand was Andy, and then it was Darko, and Frozen at the time, I think, was Timbers. And I got really far, and I didn't get any of those. And I just thought, like, God, I gave so much to those audition processes, and I really thought I was close with one of them. And I just kind of remember thinking, like, I love doing this, but that was 3 rejections in a row after a long period of not working, really hit. And just kind of thinking, I don't know if I have, I kept thinking, I don't know if I have the wherewithal to go into this Mean Girls audition. And what happened with Mean Girls, and again, this is why I think like rejection is the greatest power. I'd like to do a TED Talk on like rejection actually makes you impermeable, because when Mean Girls came around, they were casting the workshop and it was down to me and one other girl, and she got it. And she's an incredible actress. She ended up being in the show. And I didn't get the workshop. And I remember, so this was like the fourth big rejection in 2 months.
It was Gray Hansen, right?
Yeah, it was Gray Henningsen.
Yeah.
Gray Henningsen was the original Cady, and he was amazing. You all missed out.
Yeah.
And I remember like getting the call saying like you didn't get it, and I was at my best friend's in Astoria, and I just like cried on the couch. And I don't normally cry after rejection because I don't know, there's always something else coming around the corner, but this one really hurt me. They did the workshop. I wasn't in it. 3 months later, they asked me to come back and audition for
You weren't even in the workshop at all.
I wasn't even in the workshop at all.
Wow.
It was it was out of my hands.
Yeah.
And they came back around 3 months later after the workshop, and they said, we're changing some puzzle pieces around. Will you come back in? Because the puzzle is changing and we want to have more options. And I just remember going in and being like, I've already lost this once. I have literally nothing to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you get to that place of I have nothing to lose is when you are most powerful. And that's why like when teens say, what do you do about rejection? I just think like you have to embrace it. Because I swear everywhere I have gotten has been because I have learned it will not kill you. And it's not over till it's over. And every rejection has led to something else, be it sometimes it's a job, but sometimes it's just a period of life where I'm so happy I wasn't doing a show because I was able to spend time with my family, or I gained, for an example, for Kyle and I, we both didn't work for a second after Mean Girls, and it was really great for our relationship just to create an identity that wasn't related to Mean Girls, the musical.
Right.
So that was a long-winded answer, but
No.
yes, I always feel that way. But I think like rejection is such, I don't know, if you feel like you can keep going, I promise you that moment of where people doubt you or turn you away, I think is just fuel. Like it just fuels me now.
It's so hard to mask desperation.
Yes. It is hard to mask. Yeah.
And I've heard a lot of stories similar to that where the people have gone and they're like, this is it. I give zero shits about this audition because tomorrow I'm moving out of the city.
Yeah. And then they get it.
And then they get the job.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, it happens all the time. I wonder if that's, it's chemically it's doing the same as like taking a beta blocker or something. Like,
yeah, because you're just kind of loose.
yeah, like whatever.
I wish I could. I'd love to get to that place more consistently, but I'm not. I care a lot. I don't want anybody to think listening to this that I'm one of those cool people who walks in like not prepared. I'll just never be that. I'm always prepared. I always care a lot, but I've been rejected enough times that I don't care about the answer being no. I think that's the difference. I care about doing a good job in the room. I hate walking out and feeling like I didn't do a good job, but I don't really care anymore if the answer is no because I've gotten so many. And
do you feel like we'll say at the level you have achieved, right? You've originated lead roles and you've been in many major, we'll call them brand name shows now, household names. Do you feel like you have more rejection or less than you did when you were first starting out? Because the question is like if I had no credits, I had no reputation, I'm just going in for chorus role after chorus role.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there's a lot more because the choruses are bigger.
yeah, there's more no's.
There's
and more opportunities.
Yeah, but do you get called in? Did you start to get called in less for more specific roles?
Yeah, I feel like maybe there's been less I've been right for, or I think where the rejection started to happen is because Mean Girls was such popular IP. People associate me with that character. And I think what's been hard is trying to get people to see me in a different. And I think that's the golden handcuffs of being a part of something that's beloved is people associate you with that character. So I wouldn't say it's like I wouldn't say I get more or less rejection. I feel like it's the same. It's the rejection now to me feels like, oh, we can't see you doing this because we identify you so wholly with this type of character.
And that's unfortunate because I said that before that you're oftentimes only as good as the last thing someone saw you in.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great saying. Yes.
Which is terrible.
Yeah, it's bad.
Because you could do so much. I mean, I guess, like, how many people then have probably heard your voice in animations and not made the connection that, like, oh, she can do this, but I don't know who I'm listening to.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I completely agree. It's a really weird, the animation world of it is like so bizarre to me because I don't really know how to connect. Except by like lovely people like you who host and let us talk about the multiple projects is like, yeah, they're all connected. They're just very different. So, yeah, I don't know.
Is that the animation side? Is that what you wanted to go into, or you just wanted voiceover in general? Because I've always thought like, oh, I've got personality and I can make funny voices.
Yeah,
and
you'd
like,
be great at voiceover.
But I don't know where the fuck to start.
Yeah.
But then I go to voiceover classes and it's like, be genuine, be authentic, and like this is crazy. Costco. Well, come to the sale at Costco like it's a whole different read.
That was very good. I will say I'm not great at commercials. Commercials I'm bad at because my voice is too, I don't know. I don't think people trust this voice. It's like, that girl sounds like she's on crack.
Maybe it's Maybelline.
Exactly. Maybe it's Maybelline. I love making weird. Yeah, exactly.
80-year-old grandma, get off my lawn and take my Maybelline.
And stay loud. Maybe she's not with it. No, I love animation because you do get to play weird characters. Voiceover's not fun because commercial copy is not as fun to me because you have to be so smooth, and I just don't have that. But I feel very lucky because the reason I think I got into animation was because the creator of Hazbin Hotel really loved Mean Girls the musical. And she heard my voice on the cast album and was like, oh, because Hazbin is a musical series, that person can sing. Let's see if she can do the other thing. And I kind of learned by trial and error. I don't really love some of my performances in the early episodes of Hazbin Hotel because I think I'm just new. I'm just kind of learning how to do it.
How would you go in there? Like, did you go in once you got cast? Mm-hmm. Did you go in and did you take training beforehand and be like, oh, this is just another thing. I'm going to go into a booth, and you go in there like because you're by yourself.
You are by yourself.
You're not with the team of players that is the rest of your cast.
Right. That's really why I wanted. People are like, what made you want to come back to Broadway? And I said, well, I missed playing with other people. Like, because in a voiceover booth, you're by yourself. You're making crazy psychotic noises by yourself. And then on a TV set, yeah, you're kind of like playing with your cast, but for the most part, you're kept separate because everybody's in their hair and makeup trailer, and it's not because people are rude. That's just literally how the day operates. And then you come to set together, and then they're like, "Okay, pause, go to your seats." Like it's just a bit more is cordoned off. Cordoned off, the word I mean, like separated,
sandboxed.
Everybody's a bit more sandboxed. But So yeah, that was a big reason why I just missed like being in the proverbial sandbox with everybody at once, and that's what theater does. But for voiceover, I honestly, this is where I go like, I feel like friends, having a community of friends that are excited for your successes and want to help you is like the number one do for yourself as an actor in New York. And my really good friend, Christina Alabato, is an incredible voiceover artist, and she's done a ton. And I just called her and I said, I'm going into my first session. Literally, what do I do? And she gave me such helpful, quick things. Like they're going to ask for an ABC. That means you're going to do it 3 times in a row really fast. Try and do it differently. When they say, great, we're going to do, can you give us a D take? That just means do it once. If they want, I knew all the terminology, but the quickness with which they moved is a cadence that you cannot know until you're doing it. And she kind of gave me the wherewithal to say, like, they're going to go fast. Just swing big. If they don't get what they want, they'll ask for more. But that doesn't mean you're not doing it right. It just means they need another color. So she was really helpful.
Yeah, that's something else that I enjoy is the first take, make it big.
Yeah.
Because they can dial you back. That's easy enough.
Totally.
Even with commercial gigs or like commercial reads and stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes, too, I'll come out and just be, like, overly excited.
Yes.
And then they're like, all right, now read it more straight. I'm like, boring? Cool. All right, you got...
Boring, I know.
I can do boring.
I know. Sometimes it's so wild. I was in a commercial class, and I was like, the people who were the best at it were the models because they have been told to sort of be, like, impassive impassive or passive? Passive. They've been taught to be passive, like, when they are working and trying on clothes. So then when you add words to it, they were just so... Like, it was so wild. And then I would go up and they could just go, please, less.
less of all of this.
Less of all of this energy. We can't have this.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to the episode. How does Sandra D, your character in Just in Time, fit into the canon of Erika?
I think what I love about playing her, because I always want to try and find like a building block that I have in common with the character the most. And I think it's sort of similar to what we were just talking about. Sandra Dee was this like very blonde, doe-eyed ingenue. And I think people assumed that that's all she was. But she was, she not only had a troubled past, but she just was like made of steel in a way that she was number one on the call sheet when she was like 11 years old. So that's a badass professional. And I think people treated her like a little girl, but she wasn't. Like she was carrying a massive responsibility. And I think the beautiful thing about the show is that we really get to bring ourselves to it. Like Jonathan really is bringing a lot of himself to Bobby Darin. When I was talking to Alex and Isaac, our book writer, about the show, I said, the thing that I want to pull out of Sandra is I want to subvert people's expectations. She is not like a virginal Disney princess. She is an adult woman who was forced into this box by the studio system of Universal and had to appear to be a certain way. But she had all these things underneath her. And I play a lot of characters that lead towards optimism and sort of cheeriness. And I'm a very like positive person. But I've got like a streak of, Kyle calls it like he calls it my red hot chili pepper. He's like, you've got this thing in you that is like, do not mess. And it's a thing that I attribute to just getting older and being a female in the industry, of like really declaring yourself sometimes, and still allowing for your true like joyful, authentic self to come through. But there's more to everybody than that surface level. And I think that's my favorite thing about playing Sandra is I get to do that like in my first moment. I walk on stage and I basically pull the rug out from underneath Jonathan and go like, yeah, I think you think you know who I am, but you don't. And so what's fun is playing both sides, because she is still a movie star of that era. So she does still have to present a certain way. So choosing the moments where I am in control of the presentation, and then choosing the moments where I get to like really let loose and just be like a real adult human being opposite this man that she was in love with. And I think that is so fun. I don't know if that is what the intent, what is really beautiful is like, I think where you are in life tells you like how you're going to play a character sometimes. And I think with Sandra Dee for a long time, the writers thought she was just this one of like this just like youthful, perfect, pristine.
That's kind of like how they sing about her in Grease.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally.
Exactly. And I think that's what people think she is. But she obviously had those elements, but it was all things that were orchestrated by the movie industry that was built up around her. So that's my favorite thing, is to walk out looking the way that I look in the show with like that blonde wig and that pink cupcake dress, and then to immediately drop into something that is like far more real and authentic to me. I don't think I would be enjoying the show if I didn't get to do that, because I was not interested in just doing, look at me, I'm Sandra Dee. Because
everybody's got shades. That's the authenticity, I think, that we love and that we have to have.
Yes.
To keep our interest in a show, and especially when you're in a situation where you have a cast and a director and co-stars that are allowing you to try and fail, especially like with comedy, we're going back to comedy stuff.
Yeah.
You can try to be funny. You can be a funny person known for being funny and try a joke and it falls totally flat.
Oh my God, yeah.
And you just try it a different way.
Yeah, that's why theater's the best, because you just go back the next day and go like, well, that didn't work. Let me try again.
Yeah.
That's also what I just love. I love it's just such a different, I love that I've gotten to work in these three spheres, because they bring out, I learned something that I want to bring to the next thing. I have loved getting back onto an 8-show-a-week schedule, because when something inevitably does fall flat, the next day I'm like, okay, let me try it this way. And I wish I had had that freedom and flexibility when I've been shooting things in screen format, because I'm not in charge of the edit anyway. So I might as well just try 12 different things if I get that many takes and really swing big.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't work, who cares? Hopefully we get another take, or they're just not going to use that cut.
Or they'll cut to your to the reaction
Yes,
shot.
yes.
You wouldn't even see your face when you're delivering your line.
I know, but
Yeah.
I think like it's something I learned from Mean Girls. Mean Girls, I was so afraid to swing big. So I feel like I really actually didn't start experimenting with the character until like 2 months into the run. And being on set, I feel like I'm still sort of new and nervous in those environments that I feel like I go in with a plan and I try not to sway from it a ton. And now being back in theater context where I feel very comfortable, I'm just loving, like, I feel like Jonathan and I really do something a little different. And it's so, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter because we get to try again.
That's awesome.
And who's to say it doesn't work? Like, it's just different.
I wish we had all the more time. I know you're running short on you're running short on time, and so we're going to switch over real quick to plot in 60 seconds.
The plot of Just in Time.
No, I have a list of 16 popular musicals.
Oh my
right
God.
here in front of me. And you
Okay.
give me a number 1 through 16, and then I'll tell you what musical you chose. You give me that plot in 60 seconds or less.
Okay. Let's do my lucky number, 13.
Lucky 13 is Beauty and the Beast. Go.
60
Oh my
seconds
God!
remaining.
Okay, Beauty and the Beast is a classic Disney tale. There's this girl, Belle. She loves to read. Her face is always in a book. She is living in Paris? No, somewhere France.
Somewhere France.
Somewhere France.
45 seconds remaining.
Her papa is this crazy inventor. Oh shit. He invents the thing that takes him deep into the woods. I can't believe I'm remembering this detail. And she has to go in search of him. And when she gets to the woods, there's a castle. And in the castle is a beast.
30 seconds
and he wasn't
remaining.
always a beast. He was a prince. But there's some enchantment because he was greedy. Right? What did he do? He took the rose?
Vanity?
Vain. Yeah, something negative. And so she goes into the castle. She says, "Where's my papa?" She sacrifices herself, right? Where's my
seconds
papa?
remaining.
I think she sacrifices herself. She like says like, "You can take." This was dark for Disney. She's like, "You can take me if my dad can go free," right? Isn't that what happens? And then she's in the castle as a prisoner, fucked up. And then she and the Beast fall in love, which is beautiful, but kind of Stockholm syndrome. Wait, Beauty and the Beast is so dark if you think about it. Wait, that's wild. Wait, that is actually the plot, right? Her dad is in prison.
Her dad invented the wood chopper.
Right.
And was going to the fair to show it off, got lost.
Ends up at the castle. The Beast imprisons him.
Yeah, because like, you bothered me. You're now my prisoner.
And then she goes and says, "You can." She says, "Take me instead," doesn't she?
Yeah. She's like, "Let him go. I'll stay with you." And everyone else is like, "Yeah, you can marry her. You can't marry the dude. Let her stay."
Oh my God! Right. Because they have to break the spell.
Right. Because
Wait.
the witch came as an old witch.
As an old woman.
He turned her away in human form, and then she transformed into this beautiful young princess. And then was like, "I punish you
But
because
so does
you're
the
vain."
Beast learn anything though? Because he still falls in love with a beautiful young woman. So he really hasn't learned anything at all. He's kind of the worst Disney prince ever. And then he transforms and they're just like hot together.
I didn't think about that until now. He didn't learn shit.
He didn't learn fucking shit. Wait, the Beast sucks, I think. And Belle has always been my favorite Disney princess, but now I'm
Same.
like, because, I mean, she kind of does the most incredible.
She's all selfless.
She's so selfless.
Everything's selfless about her.
Wait, think about, like, Little Mermaid doesn't do really anything selfless. She runs away from her family. Belle, like, is the most selfless person.
Yeah.
And then she falls in.
Then she falls in love with this guy who hasn't seen the value in, I don't know. He doesn't really do anything.
Wait, he's the worst.
He gets depressed because he gets turned into a beast. She sees he's still good, but he's not really because he.
But it's all from her. She is like a flawless heroine. She doesn't have a single flaw.
No.
Because she sees in him, this man imprisoned her father and then said, "Well, he can go, but you have to stay." And we got to do a rewrite. That does not hold up in the 21st century. That's a terrible male character.
All right, that's it. I need a Tina Fey version of Beauty and the Beast. That would be.
Oh my God, that would be so zany.
That would be awesome. Okay, 3 standard closing questions to wrap up. The first one quickly is just what motivates you.
Oh my God. Like collaboration kind of goes back to the first thing. I just like to work with, I love working with people on things that they care about. And I love helping directors bring something to, what motivates me and makes me want to do something is collaboration and with.
Awesome. What advice would you give to your younger self and younger people listening now, starting out down a similar path?
I would say stop watching Sutton Foster videos. You will never be as good as she is. Stop trying. Just more so like we have those people. Figure out what you do differently. So I know it's like the TikTok, YouTube generation, and I know that they watch things over and over, and I think that's great. But as soon as you start trying to copy it, your inner authenticity.
All right. Last question. Hardest one. If you could only see one show for the rest of your life, but you can see it as many times as you want.
This is not hard at all. In the Heights.
In the Heights? All right.
In the Heights. 100. In the Heights is a perfect musical. I know people are like a big fan of Hamilton. Tagline, In the Heights is better than Hamilton.
That's it. That's the pull quote.
That's the pull quote.
That's the pull quote. All right.
Emmanuel, fight me.
All right. Plug everything, all your projects, your
Oh my God.
your Netflix thing coming out soon.
Come see Just in Time on Broadway at Circle in the Square Theater. We open April 23rd. It's super, super fun. Watch the 4 seasons on Netflix on May 1st, and stay tuned for Hazbin Hotel Season 2 coming in 2025.
All right. And you can find me all over the socials. Our music's by Jukebox the Ghost.
Oh my God, I love Jukebox the Ghost.
Yeah!
What song is it?
It's 2 songs. Brain fart. Oh God!
I love all their songs. I love all their
Simple
songs.
as 1, 2, 3.
Great,
I use
great song.
And then take whatever song is it, right now. It'll end with "Take a deep breath, make the world a little colorful."
Yeah. Fun.
All right. Well, Erika,
Thanks
I know
so
you got to
much.
run. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yay! Thanks so much.
Take a deep breath, make the world a little colorful.